proud to call upon the great senator from New York to make the following presentation. Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton.
There are 54 million women eligible to vote. Two and a half million more women than men, enough to decide the whole election.
In the 2008 presidential election, I was 17 years old. With a birthday in February, I would not be able to vote in the biggest election of my generation. I was so pissed off. I did everything else I could to participate in the election. I made scrapbooks and volunteered at the polls. So the fact that I couldn't vote made me think of all the other people in history, like African Americans and women, who also couldn't vote. You know, at least I only had to wait a few months, but what if I never had the right to vote?
Young women will have no idea of how every single inch of ground
that they stand upon
had been gained
by the hard work
of a handful of women from the past.
We got the right to vote in Washington State 100 years ago. In 1910, we were one of the first states in the nation to let women vote. If you were my age, your great-great-grandmother would not have been able to vote. To honor the 100-year anniversary, the Washington State Historical Society created an exhibit about women's suffrage. Did you know that African American men got the right to vote before women did? And before voting was legal, women would often try to cast their ballot anyway. They would end up getting beat up and often arrested. So we're here at Mohi, and they have an exhibit all about women's suffrage, and we're going to see what we can learn. Seattle suffragettes, go women, liberty or death. That's pretty cool that one of these women could have been your great-great-grandmother. Our women died for our right to vote. So it looks like Washington women really set the trend for the rest of the nation. I think that's pretty powerful to say for our state. 1854, 21-year-old white male citizens could only vote. 1871, oh, well, women can vote at school elections, but not in general. 1910, big year. Citizens, whites, women!
Suffragists had an idea that every time a state enacted women's right to vote, they would put a new star on the flag, and Washington was the 5th state to enact women's right to vote on a permanent basis. So we're the 5th star.
By the time Washington passed suffrage, the movement had been going on for decades, many, many years. And it had been many years since any other state had passed suffrage. And so this victory in Washington state tended to, I think, suffuse the rest of the country with hope that there would be a national amendment.
Because a lot of women were in the workforce and because we were better educated than other women, we actually started agitating earlier. And we had more people who told us, God, we better not stand in their way. So we had a little bit of power with which to exercise more power. I think that's one of the reasons why we ended up being at the top of the pack.
Washington women used many strategies to gain the right to vote in 1910. One of my favorites was the cookbook, which they published as a fundraiser. And this had recipes and reasons why women should have the right to vote. And it was to assure the men who were voting on the amendment that, yes, there would be dinner on the table once women got the right to vote. They also published newspapers, put up posters, and there were even mountaineering suffragists. There were a group that climbed to the top of Mount Rainier in the summer of 1909 and put a Votes for Women flag in Columbia Crest.
We're here at this Women's Century Club. We're going to talk to Celeste Smith and see what we can find out.
Women were considered property. Women were not on an equal footing with men. We are all equal human beings, and we all should have equal set of rights. Bertha Landis was a past president of the Women's Century Club and went on to be mayor of Seattle, and is to this day the only woman mayor that Seattle has ever had.
I wanted to talk to some women who have gone beyond just voting and who have become political leaders.
Well, I think that there are probably not nearly enough women in office, although in Washington State we're doing a bit better than the rest of the nation. Certainly, if you look at the numbers of people in the population, we should have 50% of the women in office.
I think women, because of the way we communicate in society, still tend to run for office with more difficulty. Generally, as you're growing up, you're told, don't talk about yourself too much. Don't brag too much. Don't step out in front too much. Don't be noticed too much. When you run for office, you have to put yourself out there and you have to use the word I. You have to talk about what you did.
Struggle is a never-ending process.
Freedom is never really won.
You earn it and win it.
In every generation.
I think I would work very hard for the right to vote because it's my voice. And I think that I would have realized that without a voice, you can't influence what's going on in your lives.
In some ways, as a lesbian in the United States, in some respects, I'm already a little bit of a second-class citizen. You know, I don't have the same federal recognition of my relationship. That is tiny compared to the scale of second-class citizen that I would be if I wasn't able to vote.
It's very important to have that feeling that you have an influence on your government. This is a democracy and we all want to have a voice.
Even as with the great strides that we've made on so many levels, there's still so much work to be done.
Women are dying throughout the country and the world right now just for the right to have choices, for the right to have a voice, for the right to be able to have a say in what's going on. It is a right that we might take for granted. It is a right I would never live without.
I've always known that voting was important, but I never really knew why. Going through this journey made me realize that voting didn't just fall from the sky. Something we earn. And people have fought for my right to vote. Voting is so important that I could never imagine not voting. Hey, Mayor Mike.
Oh, hi, Naomi.
I was wondering if you could look over my registration form to see if it's all good to go to take down to the city council.
Well, let me take a look at it. You know, it's the county.
The county?
Take it to the
Sorry.
county building.
My bad.
Make sure you get it to the right place.
Good thing I'm asking.
You didn't sign it.
Oh, I have a pen. Can I use your back? Is it surface?
Oh.
Thank you. Awesome. That was good.
Well done, Naomi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will be honored to accept your nomination for Vice President.